And
Good morning. We're here with the Austin Lucas Hour, and I'm here with my co-host and my new buddy, Mark Lucas Kelly. Good morning, Mark.
I know. I'm fearless. I can associate with Jim Austin. There you go.
Well, Mark, this is our fourth show, and we're just having a lot of fun talking about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we are so honored today to have a friend of mine.
Speaking of, we have a little bit of that.
That's right. I'm in good company here, right?
Yeah, you're in good
Indeed.
company with that guy over there. Jim's hanging in there. Brenda and I met how many years ago?
Oh my
Brenda?
gosh, let's see. My oldest is 16, so it has to be about 16 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Positively, Texas.
Mm-hmm. And she came to town as the anchor of a major news network.
Yeah, I was the weather anchor for CBS 11 here, and they were just starting up their morning show, and I had the opportunity to work with them. It was great. So much fun.
Yeah. And we have something in common other than being just nice people.
What's that?
We're Howard alumni.
Yes, we are. I'm like, what else do we have in common? Yes.
Yeah, we got kids and all of that.
Mind you, we came through at different times.
Yeah.
Maybe Jim a little bit sooner than I did.
Yeah, a little bit more, a little earlier in the game.
You're right.
But immediately we became friends, and had that mutual respect because she was a master of her trade, broadcast and communications, School of Communications.
That's right.
And I came out of the School of Business and now entrepreneurship. So over the years, we've seen each other, moved around. She's hosted a couple programs for us, but has built herself as a legend in the broadcast business.
Well, thank you. I didn't know that. Did
I
you
was,
know
I was
that?
getting some legend vibes.
You were feeling that?
I was feeling.
You were feeling it?
Vibing the legend.
All right, Mark.
It's that Howard thing, man.
Yeah, Howard. Yeah, well, truly though, Howard University sort of speaks for itself. If you say you're from, it carries that swagger with it, which is, that's why you want to be glad that you're an alum of Howard.
Excellent job of educating. I couldn't have chosen better. My mom really wanted me to go to an HBCU, and so I looked around at all of them and decided Howard was the best for me because it offered a program in broadcasting. They had a television station. They still have a television station, radio stations, magazines. Jim, they really have a lot to offer when it comes to that genre of study.
And they have the #1 radio station in Washington, D.C., HUR.
HUR, that's right.
Yeah, and a lot of their programs is on Sirius radio. And do you ever get to go back?
Not as often as I'd like. I do want to take my son, who's a sophomore now, to let him walk around the campus and check things out a little bit. He's a football player, so
Okay.
our Bison haven't done so well in the football field on the gridiron.
Where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
I grew up in Los Angeles, California.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
This your buddy.
There's
here.
our connection.
So, yeah.
Well, I've lived out there for a short while,
Okay.
not a long while.
We're
Just
gonna.
over in Highland Park near South Pasadena, near Eagle Rock.
Yeah.
In
I know
that
what you're talking
area.
about. Yeah,
near
Altadena,
near
right.
Occidental College, all that area.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I live in South Central,
Uh-huh.
another very nice neighborhood.
Indeed.
I did. I grew up over there on 124th in Vermont.
Okay.
And when my mom finally said, okay, we're getting out of here, we moved to Fresno. And that's when gangs began to really take over that community. But it was a nice middle-class neighborhood. Everyone, had their lawns manicured, and there was a lot of pride in home ownership. And unfortunately, it hasn't held that value.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of tough dynamics out there. The parking alone would make anyone act out. I can
Yeah.
say that, but
I've got one for you. I was there reporting as a writer when the Rodney King riots happened. Yeah, I was a writer at KCAL at that time.
Wow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
no kidding. I heard this morning. This is a complete non sequitur from that, but I heard that there was actually sleet or hailstorm on Huntington Beach, and people were
Yes.
riding their little skateboards on the ice on Huntington Beach
May
this
never.
morning.
And earthquakes in Texas. What's going on?
What's going on?
What is going on?
Exactly. Hailstones on the beach in California, and we've got earthquakes here in North Texas.
So what about the journey, if I may, from the little girl from South Central LA to Howard? How'd that happen?
Wow. My mom, that's it. My mom, 2 words. And I will tell you, my father did not have a college education. And he died when I was 7. And it was important for her to make sure that her daughters had a college education. So going to a university was not optional. And then after graduating, it was, okay, now you're going to start in your career. So she came to my graduation thinking that she was going to pack me up and take me back to California, and I already secured a job. And so stayed in Baltimore for a while. I worked in Washington, D.C., then got a job back in L.A. at KCAL, reported on the Magic Johnson story when he announced that he was HIV positive.
Wow.
And from there, gosh, the question is, how did I end up here in Texas, right? It's like they all say, it took you long enough to get here, right? But I'm finally here. So, and now I'm involved in some really fun things, and I'm really passionate about helping women, just realize their value again. So many women, we don't know how to say, I'm tired, because we're expected to do. When at the advent of women's lib, we took on these roles in the workplace, but no one ever absolved us from working at home too. So we've got these double full-time jobs going on where we're working tirelessly to help the home, and then we go home to raise the kids. So I am passionate about helping women recognize their value. Even more than that, helping teens break the cycle of teen pregnancy. I do that with a nonprofit called Just Say Yes.
Wow. That, Brenda, that thing that we get at Howard, that Howard experience, that, as we move through the walls of life, because, life can be a bitch sometimes. You gotta work, sometimes you gotta work at being happy. But that experience that we got from Howard University gave us those tools to move through the walls of life. So, you have been watched, and I know people stop you in the mall and say, aren't you that Brenda Teal from the news channel? Because, you've given so much back, MCN programs and with your program, and we understand now you're an entrepreneur, and speak about that a little bit, because what's going to happen is the Austin Lucas Hour, you got Austin and Lucas right now, but Jim's got a big real estate showing that he's going to pop out in a minute, so I'm going to leave you with my co-host to kind of take the back half of the show.
Okay.
So, tell us about your entrepreneurship,
Well, let's see, I run a title company. Is that crazy? I never planned on being in the title business at all. This came out of a need to help the family. So I'm working in television, and we were awarded a huge contract with HUD. And so I began to help run that part of it. And so out of necessity, I can balance a HUD, I can create a HUD 1, balance it, close the file, record the deed.
Wow.
None of this was ever a part. But
That'd be beyond me.
but I tell you, because of the background that we have at Howard University and the preparation there, even at Howard, I've learned to light the set, run the cable. It has not always been in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And it was is the same in my company. Whatever needs to be done. You're an entrepreneur. That's what we do. If it means washing the windows,
That's it.
Yeah, sure.
That's
That's
it.
what we do.
That's it. Getting that ice off the step. You do what it takes. If I need to have a concert I'm promoting, I'm going to Verizon. I got caught in the parking lot putting flyers on the cars in the executive suite area. But you kind of do what it takes to get the job done. You don't ever have that attitude that's below me and that I won't do that, because one of the great things that I enjoy getting up every morning is going to work. So my life right now, I have fun with doing my social action things, sports and concerts, but I look forward to going to work every morning, and that's just a a true blessing, to have gotten my degree in marketing and business, and then now have a somewhat successful real estate practice. The Austin Company, commercial real estate.
You're a visionary.
Ooh,
You are.
really?
Absolutely.
Man, that's
What do you
heavy,
think,
Mark.
Mark?
I would agree. From the previous show, we talked about the Cowboys of Color, and he was enlightening me about some characters that I had never heard of. So I would say that would define being a visionary in and of itself, to recognize the importance of that and the need, and to just jump out there and start it. Absolutely.
Well,
I can't give you too much more because I don't want to be, stroking your ego too much.
right. No, we don't. We
You do know him well.
And we all need a little ego stroke.
we do need a little stroking, but my passion about the museum, because I didn't realize that half the cowboys were African American and Hispanic. My wife about 3 years ago, she said, "Son, you might have to go back to work. Your passion is not working and paying the bills.
Right.
So when you meet me from now on, I tell people I do commercial real estate.
Yeah.
Do you need to buy a building or lease a building? That's what I do for a living. But that's my love. But passion is the museum. And I was just giving Mark a little bit of the history of what's going on right now and all. But this is good. I mean, this is truly our first person to come on our show. And if I leave, don't let it be the Lucas
No.
Teal show
Oh,
when
no.
I get back. Okay?
Lock the door.
Yeah.
Well, Mark's background, Brenda, is in the funeral business.
Interesting.
Six generations. So we chopped it up on the first show about, that business,
Wow.
and everything. So you might have some questions that you want to know, because all of us are going to meet Mark at some time.
I just finished an interview with Channel 11 with someone who has a funeral company. I mean, not minutes ago was I talking about the funeral business and how it's changed so much.
Yeah.
Wow, see, small world. We were just discussing with Preston the intern.
Preston the intern.
Yeah. All right. So tell us about your funeral service and your.
Oh,
business.
I will briefly, but I want to get back to your passion for, I'm going to say, working mothers and teen pregnancy, because that's why I wear this little red dress here. We can get to it in a minute. It's a 6th generation family funeral service that my great-great-grandfather in Grapevine in the 1860s, he was just farming and he was selling pine boxes off a wagon kind of a deal, really. And then in 1889, they got a building downtown, which was a general store downstairs, caskets upstairs. And through the generations, it's just sort of expanded. And I grew up in it and then left and moved out west and have just been back 2 years and rejoined the family. So we're operating a family-owned funeral home network. 6 are under the Lucas name, which is my family name, and then we're in partnership with Robertson Muller Harper on 8th Avenue and Blessing Funeral Home in Mansfield, and we're in Denton and down in a couple other smaller rural counties. And, we're just serving people through the changes. I guess the two statistics, and I'll end on that. We should go back to Brenda. In the 50 years that my grandfather and his brother were funeral directors, they performed 1 cremation. Now that's about 40 to 45%. And in 1980, there's a little box in the census that says affiliated with the church or not. In 1980, 10 million people checked that box. In 2010, 60 million people checked that box. So the changes in America, we were talking about changes in color and ethnicity, but the changes in behavior, church, affiliation, if you bury, if you cremate, I mean, there's so many changes that we are living in the midst of, will just continue to change, that it's sort of fascinating, I guess, my view on that spectrum.
So give me those numbers again. More people are now associated with the church?
Or more unaffiliated.
More unaffiliated.
10 million checked the box in 1980, 60 million checked it in 2010. So a lot of our clientele or families that come in are not affiliated with the church. 20, 30 years ago, most of them were. So hence that has spawned another small service called Celebrants, which I am one as well. So if a family does not have a preacher or a family member to properly honor and tell that story, someone like myself, a celebrant, will meet with the family, gather the stories, listen intently for what was the favorite hobby or favorite snack or favorite thing that the deceased liked to do, and then we'll write that story, weave in quotes, humorous, tell it in a meaningful, humorous way, and then usually try and surprise the family at the end with some sort of, I've done everything from blending margaritas at the cemetery to giving a little pink air gun to a
I
little
know
girl.
what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking.
Yeah,
Don't
it's
say it, Jim.
Is Brenda known for her margarita
No, I'm
prowess?
not. No, I'm not. Jim's eyes lit up though. He says, "Yeah, that's the kind of funeral I want to attend, right?"
Well, I will say, I think that's not to take anything away from the clergy. I definitely, my family, we probably represent every Western religion there is, within our family. But one thing is, I'd like to see that a lot of services are geared more towards truly, if you don't want to say celebrate, then honoring that life. Because I know in my family in the past, we buried a couple of people that were very close to me, and I didn't feel like that we really told their story or honored their life. I felt like it was just sort of a rote religious service without that component of their life. And that's changing. I think that's for the good. Not to cut out religion, but to add in a celebratory or an honoring part of that. Because what's the most precious thing on earth? Oil, gold, diamond, it's life.
That's life.
And those humorous, funny moments, the crazy things that you laugh about, that's what you want to take with you, right?
Right. Something we talked about today was the virtual funeral service. Have you heard a lot about that?
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, there are people that do. You mean where you just have a camera in so you can stream it online and people don't have to come, or like a drive-by deal?
I don't think that they're doing anything at all but just approving the disposal of their family member, but no service at all for cost.
Yes.
So we've become very impersonal. If you were saying more and more people are not affiliated with a church, and it breaks my heart that we are, our society, our culture is changing so dramatically, and we're texting instead of calling.
Yeah.
There's not the connection that is needed to keep families close and friends close.
No, very true. Yeah, I can't imagine sending someone off after they've lived a life without some sort of celebration or honor. I mean, to me, that's just, well, I've said what I said, and I would say that if I wasn't in the business, I grew up with my grandparents where when people came to visit, we followed them out to the driveway and kissed them and watched them drive off.
Yeah.
I still do that.
Yeah. Now it's bye.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us about the dress on your.
That fits in with your passion. That's Go Red for Women, which is a Texas health initiative that we got involved with because heart disease. You were talking about how moms, and I grew up with a mom like this, single mom, working all the time, and plus after working all the time, coming home and cooking every night. They don't. I mean, I'd fold like a cheap suit. I couldn't keep up with a single mom. There's no way. And so heart disease is a huge part. Go Pink breast cancer which I don't want to take anything away from that. We definitely need that awareness. But 1 in 31 women will die from breast cancer. 1 in 3 from heart disease. Heart disease kills more than the top 4 other reasons that will take a woman's life. And still to this day, when I go around talking about this, many women who are educated and knowledgeable and have a good head on their shoulders have no idea about that statistic. You still think. Traditionally, you think of a heart attack as being a guy, 40 or 50, that's stressed out, and you're not thinking about, and I'm talking about vibrant, pretty woman like Brenda, not just an older grandma type. Women of all ages that look like they're doing well, and their symptoms are different. They may be in the kitchen trying to get all the kids' lunches ready, in the morning, and they kind of feel a little stomach or a little sweaty, and they think, oh well, I'm just not having a good day. I got to keep going, not realizing that what they're having is a heart attack. And the thing is, most of these heart-related ailments can be corrected, can be reversed with diet, medication, some with procedure. So that's what the Go Red for Women is all about, is awareness. It's a little red dress. Mainly people say, what is that? So then that leads me into going through the spiel I just did.
That's nice. Talking about Howard, I remember I was very impressed by a woman on the train in the snow with groceries in her arms and her child in her hand at the end of a long work day. It's a lot. And I was impressed with her and thought, wow, she's really a hard worker. But is that really what we should celebrate? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The norm is to see that type of image where the woman is doing all this, what you grew up with a single mom doing everything. And it is accepted as okay. But is it really okay for us to work tirelessly and do everything? We're working 2 full-time jobs.
Yeah.
And so it's the new norm, but is it okay?
I don't, Jim and I and Preston, and there's been a lot of talk about entrepreneurship, and I applaud it. However, you touched on a subject that I speak about or try to a lot. I think that work ethic and its value overshadows family values a bit too much.
Yes.
I think it's great that we have that, what it used to call the Protestant work ethic, but I think we applaud too much people that, spend 80 hours a week. But at the same time, you hear this message of family values, and I think the two are contradictory. I personally wish that we were a siesta culture in this country. I think how do you blend together this time element of work, which everybody gives all this admiration to, but then you also want this person to go to the soccer games and go to the debate team and educate their child. You cannot do both of those full time. I don't think, and especially, I'll just put it this way, I don't see programs or policies or legislation come out of our legislatures that match family values, the current family values, when you have the percentage of single moms that there are out there. Where are the program? I don't think any of those programs really are geared to help them.
You're right, and then we put ourselves on a guilt trip when we can't do it all. And we've got to stop doing that as women. We're not wired, we're not made to do everything. And it's okay to sometimes say, I can't take on one more thing.
My mom cooked every night. And on Friday, she worked at a bank. And on Fridays, she wouldn't get home till 6:30 because the bank would be open later. And she would just make hamburgers. That was, to her, she considered that to be she wasn't cooking.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Tacos, that's my go-to. That's my go-to meal.
Tacos.
Tacos.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how you do it all. And I don't know how we overcome it. I've often thought that a lot of our ills, we're the most incarcerated country. We know the racial and ethnic stats on that too. And I feel like, I've always felt like part of that, the reason that we have so much incarceration, so much medication, so many juvenile problems, crime problems, psychological problems, is because of this just manic. You always hear we're the most productive economy, the most productive society in the world, etc. Well, that there has to be a toll from that somewhere.
And we're seeing
so where is it?
Right.
What we're going to do right now is we're going to.
What are we going to do, Mr. Austin?
Well, Mark, you're we're going to let you host the show for a minute. Miss Teal.
I'm just hanging with Miss Teal.
Yeah, well, it's not a bad job.
It's not. I've called her the princess of teen pregnancy prevention, and we're going to get into that topic next.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and take a break, a commercial break right now, and we want to thank Brenda for being with us today.
Glad to be here. Thanks, guys. We're talking about things we probably weren't planning to. That's what happens if you go unscripted. So here we are.
That's right.
We're totally
Live.
unscripted. Whatever you want to talk about is
Unplugged, right?
Unhinged, not ready for prime time.
Right.
I love it.
We're going to take a commercial break. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, I got you.
Okay.